In the aftermath of the 2008 worldwide financial crisis, Spain was among the countries that experienced the most significant impact. The country is currently facing a double crisis brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. Firstly, as a direct result of the health crisis, and secondly, an indirect consequence, the economic downturn. Unfortunately, this situation happened when the nation was already working to regain its financial stability. Today, Spain's financial situation may be more vulnerable with a substantial amount of debt and a fewer options available to them than 15 years ago. Viewing Spain's economy as a national economy is somewhat counterproductive. It is more accurate to understand it as a group of self-governing regions that are united under the same flag. This is not an exaggeration, since there are federations or countries that comprise independently governed states or regions. From a statistical standpoint, the situation is not unique to Spain. If you are watching this video from countries such as Australia, Canada, the Philippines, or the United States, you are also living in such a nation. From an economic perspective, subsystems have notable advantages over unitary states that are controlled by a central federal authority. The United States serves as an excellent example of this. With state budgets, individual regions can address the specific needs of their area without having to account for the broader implications of the entire nation. For instance, California might require policies to encourage the development of affordable housing. However, similar policies in North Dakota would be inefficient at best or a waste of money at worst. In the end, this diversification leads to more stability built into the political, economic, and diplomatic systems of a country. For countries as vast as the United States, for example, nearly all the federal states worldwide today, regional independence makes sense. However, it may not make sense for smaller nations. You might be wondering what this all has to do with Spain. The particularly observant among you may even be halfway through typing out a comment stating that Spain is not a federation but a unitary state, which is technically correct. However, this is more due to a failure of definitions rather than the actual situation on the ground in Spain. To be considered a federation, the country must have been formed by pre-existing states that united to create one unified nation. However, Spain has been a country for a very long time, and the idea of regional independence was only introduced in 1978 after the fall of the Francois dictatorship, which had plagued the nation for over 35 years beforehand. Therefore, while technically not a federation, Spain still has a decentralized system that grants significant autonomy to its regions. What the Spanish regions lack in technical terminology, they more than make up for in independence. While states' rights are a big deal in the US, they have nothing on the autonomous regions of Spain. Some of these regions view themselves as entirely independent entities to the extent that people will identify themselves as being from the Basque Country rather than from Spain. When compared to the United States, even states with the highest income tax rates will only receive and utilize approximately 15% of the total individual tax revenue. It should be noted that this is on the high end, as some states may receive as low as 0%. In contrast, Spain operates a system where taxes are collected at the central level, and then 50% of the tax revenue is redistributed to the regions. When considering solely the economy, it seems that this level of regional independence has caused an imbalance in responsibility and authority. This imbalance has gone beyond the point of tangible benefits and instead creates unnecessary friction in government operations. A classic example of this imbalance is what led to the housing bubble that ultimately burst in 2008. During the early 2000s, many economies, including Spain, experienced a period of prosperity. Spain has successfully transitioned into the euro and had nearly shed its image as a dictatorship, which led to a boom in tourism and trade. As a result, people from countries like Germany and the UK flocked to the warm beaches of Spain to soak up the sun. This surge in tourism and trade has sparked a development boom in Spain, During this time, numerous companies were established with the goal of identifying the next big tourist destination or gentrified township to build massive property developments on. This building frenzy was further fueled by the adoption of the euro, which enabled these developers to access credit markets across Europe instead of solely relying on their local currency. To make matters worse, local governments actively encouraged this building craze for two main reasons. Firstly, constructing tourist infrastructure or new living centers genuinely improved the quality of life for the people they represented. Secondly, and perhaps more importantly, it was a significant job creator. Within Spain, there was intense competition among the autonomous regions to create the most thriving housing and construction markets. This competition was driven by the desire for more jobs, investments, and opportunities to generate substantial profits. The local politicians were the first in line to collect this money, as they had oversight of the areas with the most potential for future opportunities. Additionally, these politicians had a vested interest in making their own portfolios more valuable. By the time 2008 arrived, Spain had become one of the most indebted nations in the world, with one of the hottest real estate markets on the planet. Needless to say, the subsequent crash hit the nation hard. Regions not only lost a significant amount of value in their own investments, but they also lost their largest employment industry. Unemployment in the nation spiked to over 25%, meaning that 1 in 4 people were out of a job. This level of unemployment is significantly unheard of in most developed nations. One might expect that Spain would have crumbled into a failed state at this point, but it did still one have thing going for it. Although it had a lot of debt, that debt was almost entirely in the private sector. In fact, the national government had a debt-to-GDP ratio that was almost half of that of the USA at the time. Why was this the case? Well, until this point, the regional government had basically run their own show. While the regions were now massively in debt, the Spanish government itself was able to take a more responsible approach to its spending. Naturally, this situation still caused problems. With extremely high levels of unemployment, wages were driven down. After all, why would employers pay their employees well when there were millions of people desperately looking for work who would do the job for a lot less? This caused many of Spain's highly skilled workers to move abroad to find more lucrative employment. Surprisingly, this was relatively easy for them to do, given Spain's interesting relationship with the world. Spain's decision to join the European Union has been overwhelmingly positive, but it does have its drawbacks. One of these drawbacks is the free exchange of labor across borders. As a result, highly skilled Spanish citizens can easily move to countries like France, Germany, the Netherlands, and more recently, the UK, where their skills can be more lucratively compensated. This close relationship with other countries is not limited to the EU alone. In fact, Spain has been acknowledged by the World Bank as the most hassle-free country for trading, owing partly to its geographic location and chiefly to the strong relationships it has built globally. However, this favorable status comes with a cost, which may need to be paid during the recovery from COVID-19. Spain, along with several other European nations, was severely affected by the early wave of the coronavirus and is still grappling with the pandemic today. As of now, it remains one of the most severely affected advanced nations worldwide. Unfortunately, this posed a major challenge for Spain, as its economy had gradually become dependent on tourism and trade, particularly in the early 2000s. Therefore, once again, Spain has placed a significant bet on the industries that were the worst to be in at the most inopportune time. Spain is currently caught between competing forces, as it is answerable to the powerful domestic autonomous zones, while simultaneously being subjected to policies formulated by international organizations beyond its direct jurisdiction. This power sandwich situation leaves the government with very limited flexibility to navigate through the challenges it faces. In times like this, the ability to react promptly and resolutely has never been more crucial. What do you think? When will Spain's economy recover? Comment your thoughts below. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to stay up to date with our latest uploads.